I designed in honor of The Little Mermaid's 30th year anniversary. Another reason I was motivated to design this top was because Disney invited me to a live concert performance of Little Mermaid, and I wanted to wear something completely unique to everyone else who was undoubtedly also going to be wearing outfits inspired by The Little Mermaid. So yeah, that's exciting as well, and if you're interested in watching my video about that event, that will be linked in the description box below. But onto the tutorial. For this project, I'm using size 4 yarn from the brand Mainstays. I got this from my local Walmart, and I am also using a size 5mm hook. The first thing that we're going to do is grab our yarn and create a slip knot with it. Then we're going to chain 10 chains. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what a slip knot is, or a chain, or just new to crochet in general, I do have a crocheting for beginners video that I will link in the description box below, as well as much more beginner-friendly tutorials on my channel, because this one is a little bit more complicated than my average crochet tutorial. So I would suggest that you go ahead and watch the crocheting for beginners video, and then maybe try out a couple beginner-friendly projects first, and then come back to this one. Okay, so after you have chained 10, you're going to go back on that chain with a single crochet, and you're just going to complete that row as you normally would. Right now, we're actually going to create the shell cup, just so you have an idea of what we're working on right now. So we're going to make the cups first, and then we're going to make the rest of the body. Now, if you've been subscribed to my channel for a while, you already know how I make my crochet cups. You basically finish that first row of single crochet, chain 1, flip the project over, and then make sure you go into the very first stitch of the new row, and then create one more row of single crochet until we flip the project vertically and then start making the cup. But we are actually going to do something a little bit different today, because we want these cups to look more like shells as opposed to regular triangular cups. So in the beginning, I'm just going to make my cup as I normally would. So again, now that I have completed the second row of single crochet right here, I'm going to switch from working horizontally to working vertically, and I'm going to find the middle stitch right here, and I'm going to make 3 single crochets inside of that middle stitch, and that's going to serve as the point of the cup to make it more triangular, which in the beginning we do want to make a triangular base for this shell cup. So I'm just going to continue as I normally would to make the rest of the cup. So after I have created those 3 single crochets inside of that one middle stitch, I'm going to go down the opposite side of the project and create a row of single crochet until I get to the very bottom, making sure that I go into all of the stitches, especially the very last stitch, and then chain 1, then flip the project over, go into the very first stitch of the new row. That is very important, because if you end up skipping that stitch, your cup will start to curve, and we don't want it to curve like that. We will be wanting it to curve a little bit later to give it a more shell-like look, but not right now. Okay, so now that I'm approaching the top again, I'm going to search for that middle stitch, and once I find that middle stitch right here, I'm going to create 3 single crochets inside of that one stitch to continue with that point, and also increase the number of stitches per row overall. That way it can grow and grow per row. So yeah, I'm just going to continue doing the exact same thing. Chain 1, go all the way up, then make 3 single crochets in the middle stitch, then go all the way down, chain 1, up, down, so on and so forth, until I am halfway done with the cup. So in order for you to figure out when you're halfway done with the cup, is you just put it against your chest, and when you have half of the coverage that you want, then it's time to move on to the next step. So right now we have a triangular cup, which is what we don't want. We want more of a round cup. So what I'm going to do is kind of stretch out the project as well as skip making those 3 single crochets inside of the middle stitch. And I'm instead going to add extra stitches on the sides to make it more round. Now if you don't know what I mean by that, I'm going to show you really quick. So starting from the end, I'm of course going to chain 1 and then make sure that I go into the very first stitch of this new row, and then I'm going to single crochet my way around the entire cup. So for this one row, I only really needed to do this once. I'm going to add or increase by 2 on each side of the cup. So on this side right here, I decided that I'm going to add this extra stitch inside of that same stitch, and then I'm just going to go around to the opposite side and do the exact same thing. So right now I'm at the middle of the cup and I'm just going to make 1 single crochet per stitch. I'm not going to add 3 in 1 stitch anymore. But now that I'm at the opposite side of the cup, I'm going to create 2 stitches inside of 1 stitch, just so I could round out the cup as opposed to it being triangular. And I think that that was enough for me to have a round project. The rest of the rows, I just made 1 single crochet per stitch, and that's how I continued with the project until I put the project against myself and I was happy with the coverage. And once you are happy with the coverage of your cup, then you're going to flip the project so that you're working on the flat portion of the cup, which is the portion that is facing up right now. And from the end of the row, we're going to actually skip that first stitch and go into the second stitch and create an extended double crochet. An extended double crochet is yarn over through the stitch, yarn over back through the stitch, yarn over through 1 loop, yarn over through 2 loops, and yarn over through the last 2 loops. And we're actually going to do that a total of 7 times because we want these scallops to be fairly large. Since this is a large cup, the large scallops fit the size of the cup. If you were to make a bunch of little scallops, it would just look funny. Trust me, because the first time I tried this out, I made a bunch of small scallops made up of 4 extended double crochets, and they were really close together and it didn't really look good. So just trust me when I say make large scallops right here and it'll look much better. So this is my 7th extended double crochet inside of this 1 stitch, and I'm going to complete my first scallop. And once I do, I'm going to skip 2 stitches and go into that 3rd stitch with a slip stitch to secure that scallop. And that's essentially how we're going to be making our scallops. So this is the first one, and to make the second one, I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch just to increase the distance between the 2 scallops. And then I'm going to create another 7 extended double crochets inside of 1 stitch to create the next scallop. So I'm just going to fast forward so you don't have to wait for me to make all 7 extended double crochets in real time. And after I've completed my last extended double crochet and my second scallop, I'm going to skip 2 stitches and slip stitch into the 3rd one. And this is what the project should look like. It's looking good so far. Again, much better with the larger scallops as opposed to a bunch of little scallops. And I'm actually going to crochet myself a strap right here in the middle of my 4 scallops that I'm going to create. So 2 on one side of this strap and 2 on the other side of the strap. And all I'm going to do is chain a chain of 75 chains. You can chain however many chains that you would like to chain. You can chain more or less, just depending on your preference and body type. But yeah, just for reference, I chained 75 chains to create my next strap, and after I was done chaining those 75 chains, I went back on that chain with a slip stitch just so I, one, wouldn't have to detach the yarn from the yarn ball and then reattach it again to the project, and two, so I can make the strap a little bit thicker and more comfortable, because when the strap is just a chain, it kind of digs into your skin. So at least this one layer of slip stitch does make a big difference in making the strap a little more cushiony. So after you've slip stitched all the way down the chain and are back at the project, then we're going to continue making the last two scallops by simply skipping a stitch and then creating the next scallop inside of the second stitch away from the strap. And we're just again going to create 7 extended double crochets inside of that one stitch. And after we have created those 7 extended double crochets, we're going to skip 2 stitches and then go into that third stitch with a slip stitch, then slip stitch one more time into the next stitch, then create another scallop made up of 7 extended double crochets inside of the stitch after that. Now I forgot to mention that obviously everyone's body type is different, so your cup may be a different size than mine, possibly bigger because I do have a small chest, so you may need to make more scallops than just 4, and that's totally okay. I would just suggest that you try to make them as even as possible. Hopefully it's an even number, so you have a certain number on one side of the strap and then a certain number on the other side of the strap, so that it's even on both sides. But you can do whatever you think looks good. If you want smaller scallops, then go for it. If you want even bigger scallops, then go for it. Totally up to you. It just depends on your preferences. Okay, so this is what my cup looks like after my scallops are complete, and I am completely done with the cup. And now I have to do it all over again for my second cup. So after I completed crocheting my second cup, I needed a way to attach the two cups together without actually crocheting in between them, because if I crocheted in between them, then the shell design will kind of blend in to the rest of the top, which I do not want. I want the shells to stand out. So I decided to just grab my yarn and lace it through the middle portion of the two shell cups, and this is how I did it. I grabbed my yarn and weaved it through the various stitches I wanted the yarn to go through with my hook, and I first did one side and kind of gauged how much yarn I was going to use, and then I did the other side the exact same way, just obviously on the opposite side, so that it could be even on both sides. And if I wanted to adjust the lace portion in the middle, like if I wanted to make it tighter or more loose, then I could, because I gave myself an extra bit of yarn at the top as well. So yeah, that's pretty much how I did it. I just laced it in between each other and tied it at the top for now. I could adjust it when I try it on later, and I was done attaching the two cups together, and I think it came out really cute actually. It kind of reminds me of what I did for the seashell bikini project I uploaded either last year or 2 years ago, but honestly I think this one came out so much better. I probably need to redo that tutorial, or you can just follow this one, I guess. Okay, so now I'm going to start working on the body of the project. So I'm going to choose the stitch in which I want to start my project. Essentially how I found out that this is the spot I wanted to start the body was I put the cups against myself as if I was going to wear the top, and I pinpointed the stitch in which I wanted the body to start, which is essentially about 2 to 3 inches underneath my armpit. So yeah, that's how I decided to start from right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make two sides to this project instead of one solid back. But if you want to make one solid back, then all you have to do is create a chain that is long enough to wrap around your entire back. But for me, I'm going to do half and half, so I'm going to chain only 20 chains, and that just wraps around the side of my body and maybe like half of my back. And after I've chained those 20 chains, I'm going to go back on that chain with a single crochet, and once I go back on that chain with a single crochet and I've reached the cup again, I'm going to slip stitch into the side of the cup twice and then start my new row of single crochet. So again, every time you reach the cup, you're going to slip stitch up twice and then flip the project over and then start a new row of single crochet. And little by little, it's going to eventually reach the bottom of the cup. And after you've reached the bottom of the cup, so we're going to work all the way down here to the bottom of the cup. After that, you're going to start working on the portion of the top that's going to cover your rib cage. And because I split my back portion into two pieces, so it's not like a solid back, I have to do essentially the exact same thing onto the other side as well before I work on the bottom portion of the top. So yeah, I'm going to do the two sides first, and then I'm going to do the very bottom last. And if that was a little bit confusing, you'll see in a minute. So I'm just going to continue with this side and finish up this side first. And again, all I'm doing is creating a row of single crochet, and once I get to the end, I'm going to chain one and flip it over, and then another row of single crochet until I reach the side of the cup. And every time I reach the side of the cup, I'm going to slip stitch into it twice, flip the project over, and then start my new row of single crochet. And I'm going to do this until I reach the very bottom of the cup, like I have right here. So now that I've finished one side, I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other side. So this is what the project looks like so far, and I'm going to detach the yarn from the yarn ball and then reattach it to the other side, making sure that it is at the same point as the other side was, so both sides are even. And I'm just going to attach it like so. Then chain the same number of chains I did on the first side, then follow all of the same steps that I did for the first side as well until I reach the bottom of the cup and both sides are even. Now if you want this to be a bikini top, you're essentially done for the most part. You just need to make the back straps. But since I do not want this to be a bikini top, I want this to be a crop top, I would need to continue at the bottom right here. So I'm going to make some more rows at the bottom, and I'm going to start where I left off. So I left off right here on the second side. So all I'm going to do is continue single crocheting across to the other side as opposed to going back from here. So I'm just going to continue this way, and once I reach the middle of the cup where there's a gap in between this cup and the other cup, I'm going to bridge that gap with a chain. So I'm just going to measure out about how many chains I will need in order for it to reach the other cup. So I'm just going to chain. I didn't keep track of how many chains I made, I just went by what it looked like. So I just made a chain and then kind of measured it out. Okay, that's like halfway there, so I need to make double the amount that I just did. So then I just crocheted some more, and once it was able to reach to the other cup, then I just attached it to the other cup and then continued on single crocheting to the other side. And once I was at the other side and made my last single crochet of the row, I chained one and flipped the project over and then crocheted my way all the way across. This time crocheting on top of the chain that I made in between the two cups. And after you've done that, then you're just going to continue making rows and rows of single crochet until you put the project against yourself and you're happy with the coverage. So again, all I'm doing is making rows and rows of single crochet until the bottom portion of the top is wide enough to cover my rib cage. And again, I wanted this top to be a crop top, but if you would like this to be a full top, all you would have to do is continue making more rows of single crochet until you put the project against yourself as if you were going to wear it, and it covers your entire top half of your body. So again, it's totally up to you. Again, if you want this to be a bikini top, then you can make it as short as you like. You can make it as long as you like. You could even turn this into a dress if you'd want to. It's totally up to you. So now that I have completed as many rows as I need in order to be happy with the coverage of my crop top, I am going to make the straps. So from the side right here, I'm going to chain 120 chains because I feel like that is a good length for my back straps, but of course you can chain however many you would like. And the reason it needs to be so long is because I'm going to create a corset or lace up pattern in the back as well, so it needs that extra length in order to go back and forth in the back. And once I have chained my 120 chains, I'm going to go back on that chain with a slip stitch, again just to make it a little bit more cushiony, and also so I don't have to detach the yarn from the yarn ball and then reattach it. So once I have gone down the entire chain with a slip stitch, I'm going to single crochet my way across the bottom one last time to the other side, and once I reach the other side, I'm going to do the exact same thing and chain 120 chains to serve as my strap. And once I have chained 120 chains, I'm going to go back on it using a slip stitch. And after I have gone back on that chain, then I am done crocheting this top. Now for the final step. And the final step is to lace up the back straps so that it is a corset design. I think it's called corset design. If it's not called corset design, can someone let me know what it is supposedly called? But essentially, yeah, we're going to lace up the back straps just as we did the front straps earlier with the single strands of yarn, but this time we're going to use thicker straps. So all you have to do is grab one of the straps on one side and bring it over to the opposite side wherever you would like to attach it to. Then bring it over to the opposite side once again and attach it. Then bring it over to the opposite side again and attach it. And finally bring it over to the opposite side one more time and attach it to the very top. I try my best to make every gap in between as even as possible. And after I've attached one side, I'm going to go ahead and grab my second strap and do the exact same thing, but everything opposite, since it does start off on the opposite side of the other strap. And once you have attached that second strap throughout the entirety of the back of the project, then you are completely done with the Little Mermaid inspired crochet top. Woo, how exciting. It only took absolutely forever, but I think that it's worth it. I spent a little bit of time trying to figure out how I was going to design this top because I knew I wanted something that was obviously inspired by Ariel's outfit from The Little Mermaid, and I also didn't want to be wearing a strapless bikini in order to channel my inner Ariel. So I figured, you know what, I think this design would be great, and then I drew it out in my notes and voila, it has come to life, and honestly I'm really proud of it. I wore it to the Little Mermaid event and it was a big hit. A lot of people absolutely loved it, and it made me really happy, not only because they loved my crochet top design, but the fact that I made it by hand and they still think that it looked good. Plus, I was the only one with this top, obviously, since this is one of a kind until the very moment I make this video live. Then thousands of other people will have this top as well, but it was a nice touch to know that I was the only one with this outfit in a sea of other Little Mermaid inspired outfits. And if you would like to watch the video of the live concert experience of The Little Mermaid that I was invited to by Disney, I will leave the link to it in the description box below. Please go ahead and check that out, as well as my other videos if you are a Disney fan, or if you're just a crochet fan. Again, I post crochet videos every other Sunday, so be sure that you're subscribed for that as well. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up before you go, and also don't forget to click that red subscribe button if you have not already, so I can see you next time. Bye!